Hi everyone, welcome and welcome back to another episode of Inspired Up Podcast, and it's me, your host, Princess. So for this episode, I just want to do like a summer reflection. It's basically a reflective episode because whenever you want to move from one phase to another, it's very important to do that reflection so you make sure that you don't repeat the things that were not working, your bad habits, the things that you want to put an end to. It's really good to do a reflection before you go to the next phase of your life. And if you're like me and you've been scrolling on TikTok, you've been seeing the great lock-in, which is basically going all in from September to December. And even though September is basically done, today is the 27th, even though we're almost done with September, we still have 3 more months to like really go all in for our goals and really make the year count. Now, I miss summer so much because summer was a time where I wasn't really caring about what I'm doing tomorrow. I was just living every day as it is. Now, if you're in uni, you remember June. June was just freshly out of, the semester and everything was so good. You're like, finally, I can rest. You're telling yourself you're going to be done with school. You're going to be outside. And it's just this limbo phase because, yes, you want to be outside. But then again, you also want to make the summer count. When people are talking about what they did this summer, you want to also do the same. Maybe try a new hobby or learn a new skill. So it's like, okay, yes, I'm done with school. But when your identity has been wrapped around these routines of going to school and not doing anything else, it's kind of like just weird. And June went by really, really quickly. Like this, I was done with June. And I looked back when it was July, like, oh my God, the past 1 month, I didn't do anything I could hold on to. So I'm going to try and make July worth it, right? And July for me, I really locked in on finding an internship. And I was facing so much rejection, like rejection after rejection. And I'm like, is this even possible? This is just an internship, by the way. And this is not even a real job. And also looking towards graduation. Now on graduation, I don't know if I was super excited for graduating. Because it's like, okay, what's next? I'm used to just flipping the book and be like, okay, we're done with that chapter. What's the next chapter? So instead of me being happy for graduating and finally done with 4 years of torture and pain, I have to look forward to what's next, and I had no clue on what was next. And also, like I said, when you're moving from one phase to another, you're trying to figure out your routines, trying to figure out your habits. And so my habits were all over the place. Was I waking up early? No. Was I going to the gym? No. Was I even sleeping early? No. Was I even eating healthy? No. I was just all over the place. If I get hungry, I just reach for a snack or I just reach for whatever is close to me. I wasn't being mindful. But then again, it's summer, I'd be carefree, but I also didn't want to lose myself in the process of being carefree. But finally, I found an internship and I was like, okay, everything worked out, even though I was being rejected. Like, I don't even think of the rejection anymore because it all made sense in the end. So that's like a mental note to me right now and a mental note to you. If you're facing some sort of rejection, it will not matter in the end when you actually get accepted. You just need one yes to make everything go away. So you just have to keep pushing. And also in July wasn't so bad because, graduation, and I also kind of did like a vacation. And I was happy about that, but my routines and my habits were still on a 0. It was the worst it has ever been because I wasn't taking charge of my day. The day was literally taking charge of me. So moving on to the next month, finally started my internship and I was super excited, being in a new environment and you don't know what is to come, and then you just feel so excited about it. So that was my headspace and it was completely perfect. I could not ask for anything more. And I also try to build my habits because I realized that when I have one thing structured in my life, which is basically the internship, I go in the morning and come in the evening, it's really easy for me to build around it. So it got me thinking, am I really want to work a 9 to 5 or like self-employed or work on my own terms? Is it easier for me? Because comparing the months where I had things to do, where I had nothing to do, rather, it was really difficult for me to have like a routine. And then comparing to when I had an internship to do, I could easily build up a routine. So is it better that I have a boss in my life or can I be my own boss? So that's something that I'm still thinking about and I'm still trying to work on because I would like the idea of being my own boss in the future. It's just going to take some extra work to still be consistent and be committed and be disciplined when you know that you're the boss in your own life. So down the line, when you're really excited for something, but it just turned out to be not what you expected. That's what happened for me in August. Because it's like you're being delusional for reaching for certain things and then you just want to get it done and move to the next phase. So August was just like, I can't wait for this month to be over. I just want to be done. So I had a mental shift from, yeah, we're outside, it's summer, to what is actually going on? Where is my life heading to? I don't have a clue what's going on. And I also try to be consistent on TikTok. Follow my TikTok if you're not following already. And it was good. I saw some sort of growth, and I'm really excited for that growth, even though it's not so much. Like literally, like I got like 50 followers, and that's a huge, like, thank you. That's a big deal for me. But it was just basically, I wasn't as consistent as I wanted to be, because pre-summer I'm like, okay, I'm going to go all in for TikTok and the podcast. But I wasn't. I did not go all in for the TikTok and the podcast, which is kind of embarrassing and shameful to say. But we're still going to lock in the great lock in October, November and December. And I think being self-aware and knowing that you wanted to do this but then you didn't is super important, because now you know why it didn't work. What were you doing that made it not to work out for you? And what are the things that you can change so that your reality can also change? Everything starts in the mind. I'm currently reading a book on breaking the habit of being yourself. And I have a hard time really convincing myself that everything starts in the mind. Even though I say, yes, everything starts in your mind. I've done a lot of episodes about being courageous, which is in your mind, alter ego, which is in your mind. Everything, it starts in the mind. But how powerful, like I'm still trying to convince myself of how powerful our mind is, because I realize that I have free will. I can really imagine and feel whatever I want to imagine and feel. And if that's going to create a new reality for me, then why not? Why will I waste my time imagining a bad or mediocre reality for myself if that's what's going to come to pass? So instead of thinking cause and effect, whatever is the reality is going to affect my mind. Tell yourself that your mind actually reflects your reality. When I was reading the book, I was like, okay, yeah, this is true, because body dysmorphia. I started thinking about it. We can look at ourselves in the mirror. We can think that we're bigger than we actually are, because that's what your mind feels. But you could literally be the same exact weight, size, everything, but maybe you're feeling more confident that day, or you went to the gym the previous day, or you did like 20 sit-ups, and then you're looking at yourself in the mirror and then you're going, ooh, you look really skinny right now, but you look the exact same way. So I started to think about it, and I'm like, yeah, it's actually just in our mind. What our mind feels, knows, is what our reality would be. So if you're trying to overcome something, don't try to force reality or try to move things physically. It all starts with you. It all starts with your mind. And the book talks on two things, which is like the emotional aspect and the thought process. If you're thinking of a new reality, it's not going to work out if your emotions are not completely aligned. If your emotion is feeling something, but then your thought process isn't also feeling the same thing, isn't also aligned with your emotions, it's not going to happen. So in order to change your reality, you have to make sure your emotions and your thoughts are aligned. So what this tells me is that I have the ability to control my reality, even though it sounds like BS, because I was journaling about the kind of life I want to live, journaling about my emotions and my thoughts, and what this helped me to do was to make my thoughts and my emotions become aligned, and hence it was creating a new reality for me. Like, this is my reality, this is who I am, not just the lies that I've been told or the noise I hear from people around. So I'm already rambling too much about this whole book, but just give this a thought. So now we're in September, and I bet you why I'm so inconsistent with the podcast, which is really like, it's a hard truth to spill, but it's more of like, I don't feel aligned with what I preach. Because I come on here and I preach, be courageous, but in my life I'm not being courageous every single day. I know that yes, we should be courageous, but things are scary, and it just makes me feel that imposter syndrome or that doubt, like, what am I even saying? I cannot even follow through with the things that I am saying on the podcast, so I just don't want to pick up my mic and record. And that's why this episode, I just want to take it easy and just spill my mind and just do a reflection, because it's really tiring giving all these tips and all these things that I've learned when it's super hard for me to apply it into my own life. But also, that shouldn't get in my head, because I know it's not going to be a one-day transformation. It's like an ongoing process. And what we have to do is, we shouldn't think that, yes, because we know this, it should be super easy. We should take ourselves as our own personal projects before we even start to work on other external projects. And you should be your top priority, because once you start taking yourself as a project, you start to see that everything is a work in progress. Each day you're making more effort. But if you don't take yourself as a project, you would feel, why is this not already done? I don't want to keep working on this. And that's ultimately going to lead you to failure, because it might take longer than you expect, it might take shorter than you expect, but it's definitely going to take some time. And now that I'm somewhat done with university, I'm just thinking of how it's going to be super difficult to make friends, because I wrote like a bucket list at the beginning of summer of the things that I want to do. I will review it to see if I did it, but I wrote down that I want to make one new friend. So now I'm thinking, without an organized setting, would I be able to make a friend? Would I be able to meet new people? And I don't want to end up friendless, because human connection is very essential. No matter how I want to protect my energy or protect my peace or think I can do things on my own, human connection is very, very essential for your own well-being. So I've just been thinking about that, and I have still not come to an answer or a conclusion on that. It's still like a thought in my head, but I know that from now it will be an intentional decision. Like, it won't just happen. You can't just happen to make friends. Now you have to actively go and make friends, since you're no longer in an organized situation. And now to just wrap it up, because I'm done with summer, like I'm no longer in the summer phase. Things I've been journaling about recently is just, what do I want? How am I experiencing this change? I'm no longer in university. I think that's like a really big change for me, even though I don't want it to be. But then it didn't click, but now it has clicked, because it's back to school season, but I'm not back to school. So what is the situation here? Also, I wrote down here, like my notes are just opened. I wrote down here, mourning the past but still experiencing change. And what I mean by that is, yes, you can wish something was different. You can wish, the good old days, but don't let it stop you from moving forward. When you're transitioning in your life, it's super easy to just want to stay in your comfort zone and stay in what you already know. But you can still hold on to it. You can still mourn it, blah, blah, blah. But you still have to make space for what is to come. Because if you don't make space for what is to come, you're going to wake up and realize you've been stuck on something that is no longer there. And you don't want to be stuck on something that is no longer there. Because the only thing constant in life is change. So you have to always be ready for change. Be flexible. I think being flexible can be your superpower. Because at the end of the day, we're in our 20s, we're really young. There's no need to be super rigid. Even though it's good to have structured plans, it's good to know what you want, but always remain flexible. Like, don't change the plan, but you can always change the path and how to get there. And back to what I was saying about taking yourself as your own personal project. You also have to see your discipline and your commitment and your resilience and every other thing, even your health journey, as your project. Be committed to this journey. Just ask yourself, what would happen if I saw myself as a project? If every day I know that I have to put in this amount of work to make this happen? If your goal is to become more disciplined, what would happen if every single day you see yourself building the blocks of discipline? Because you're not just going to wake up as a disciplined person. You actually have to build those blocks. So that's where I'm at in my life now. I am my own personal project. Every single day I'm building the blocks to kind of bridge the gap between who I am and who I want to be. So the takeaway from this episode can just be moving forward, looking forward. What's the plan? Because it's really easy to fall into autopilot in your own life. You're just riding the waves instead of being in control and taking charge. So if you realize that you've been on autopilot, it's time to make a change. You can always choose how you want to live your life. Like I always talk about free will. We're not freewheeling enough if you think about it. So if you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a comment or like the video so I know you really enjoyed it. And I'll see you in my next week's episode.